Hello and welcome back to the channel. Here we are at the end of 2023 and what a fantastic year it was for the Black Series line. Hasbro released so many figures that, as I said before, it became kind of overwhelming, at least for me. Of course, this will be my top 10 list of the best Black Series figures in 2023, but I have to say that because we got so many releases, it wasn't so easy to make this list. I had one major rule and that was retooling, resculpting is fine, but there will be no re-releases or repaints on my list. And obviously, this is my list, it's my opinion, an opinion of only one person, so don't be mad at me if you don't agree with what I say here. To be honest, all of these figures are great and each of them could be anywhere on this list, however you want to spin it. It really doesn't matter that much. I'm doing this simply for fun. It's nice to reflect back on this year, just to remind myself on all the great figures that we got. I also have to say that I don't have all of the figures from this list. For some of the releases I decided to go with the SH Figure Arts or Mayfix versions, but this is a Black Series list and I still think that Hasbro releases are great, especially for those that collect only this line. So without further ado, let's get started. First, a few honorable mentions. These are some of the figures that are great, but I had to remove them from the list simply because I feel like the other figures are a bit better. So honorable mentions are Rebel Commando, a great army builder that ended up being a deluxe and so more expensive. Mara Jade, a great female lightsaber using figure that is really fun for posing. Doc Andar, an expensive and hard to get figure of a character that is part of Disney's Star Wars park, so I don't have any connection to it, but it represents a potential for the future figure, so that's exciting. Duels and Darth Vader, a great figure with an amazing head sculpt, one of the best that Hasbro ever did in this line. I have it off the top 10 list because other than the head, the figure is mostly reused from previous releases. And finally, Hera Syndulla, a simple figure that comes only with a small pistol blaster, but I think that they did such a great job on this figure. The likeness to the character is there and I love the color palette that makes her stand out on the shelf. Okay, so now let's get to my top 10 list of the best Black Series figures in 2023 in my opinion. At number 10, it's R2-D2. This is a brand new figure of one of the core characters that needed to be updated for 10 years from the beginning of this line, when it was released in one of the first waves. We waited for 10 years to finally get the Black Series R2 that is in scale with the rest of the figures, and 2023 was the year when it finally happened. They retooled the body, removed the unnecessary gimmick of rotating the dome in order to extend his third leg, and instead of that gave us a feature with extended neck that is a storage space for all R2's accessories. They did give us most of the accessories from first release except Luke's lightsaber hilt and those jet boosters, so that's a bummer. Other than that, and the fact that there is no weathering, this figure is a perfect Black Series representation of R2. At number 9 is Wicket. We finally got Wicket in the Black Series line. We did get two Evox before him, but for me, Wicket is the one that I was waiting for. I watched the Evox cartoon when I was a kid, and in that series, Wicket plays one of the main roles. I know that Hasbro also released those cartoon versions, but I decided to go with this one because it's the one that also has a role in the movie, and it goes great with the rest of my collection. The sculpt is great, it has a dark wash on the fur, and for such a small figure, the articulation is good enough. He also comes with a nice number of accessories, so I like that as well. I do have this guy, but at the moment I still didn't make a review and a posing video for him, but I will. At number 8 I have Darth Malak. Now, don't be angry at me because I put Malak so low on my list. I am aware that it's a great figure, but I'm also someone who never played KOTOR. I know that I'm crazy because of that, but that is the main reason why I have no connection to the character. Seeing the figure without that connection, it looks to me like a tall, ugly guy in a red jumpsuit, and it kind of looks unusual for Star Wars. Again, that is just how I see it, and if I had played the game, I'm sure that this figure would be higher on my list. But again, I'm still fully aware that it's a great figure. It's amazing that Hasbro is giving us these gaming characters, and I'm happy to see that a lot of you guys are happy with this release. The head sculpt looks amazing, and I love the fact that the mechanic lower jaw piece can be removed to unfold his damaged face. On top of that, they gave him a soft goods cape, and I'm I'm loving that. Hasbro did a great job on this guy. At number 7 is Chrysanthemum. This is a great figure. The articulation is limited, especially in the elbows, but still, I love how this figure turned out. For me, it's the look that makes it so amazing. For the most part, the sculpt is great. The wash on the fur is nice. Head sculpt is on point. It's a big, bulky Wookiee that looks menacing. The proportions and the height are just right. He goes great with the rest of the Book of Boba Fett figures, Black Series or figure arts, doesn't matter. It just has a nice presence on the display, so I love it. The only reason that this figure is not higher on my list is the already mentioned elbow articulation and the fact that Hasbro didn't include alternate fisted hands in a set that is priced as a deluxe. TVC version did get those hands, and I feel that they are essential for this guy. They are a part of the character because he did fight a lot with his fists in the show, so it's too bad that we didn't get those options. At number 6 I have Darth Maul Old Master. This is one of the best Darth Maul figures in the line to date. I am aware that a lot of people will probably disagree with me when I say that I still prefer last year's Season 7 of the Clone Wars Maul better, but that's how I feel. Nevertheless, the gaming grade Maul is still really good. The upper body is a new sculpt while the legs are reused from the mentioned Clone Wars version, and the head is reused from Sith Apprentice Maul from the publishing subline. This version represents the skin from Battlefront 2, but it also almost fully represents his look from the Rebel series. I say almost because you are one Landspeeder Luke scarf file away from completing that look. The articulation and the overall look are great. You can get this guy into a lot of great and dynamic poses for your display. All in all, it's Darth Maul, a character that a lot of us love, and we are happy to add this version of the character to our collection. Let's now move into my top 5 best Black Series figures of 2023. At number 5 I have Commander Appo. This year Hasbro decided to fix some of the things that were not that good on their previous Clone Trooper body and gave us a retooled Phase 2 clone body. I decided to put Appo on this list, but it could have also been a plain white Phase 2 clone. Appo came out first and has a bit better face print in my opinion, and that is why I decided to go with him. Now the helmet is removable and underneath is a fully painted clone head. Shoulder armor is no longer glued to the shoulder, but is now connected to the ring on the inside of the butterfly joint, so it doesn't hinder the arm articulation. The figure now has a bicep swivel that we haven't seen in this line for some time. They also fixed the knee pad issue by leaving it unattached to the leg, and so now when you put the figure in a kneeling pose, it looks much better. I know that he is named Appo, and I'm aware that the blue is not the right tone, but still, it's a great release. Overall, in my opinion, this is the best Clone Trooper figure that we ever got in this line, and it gives Hasbro the opportunity to reuse it and give us a lot more clone figures in the future. At number 4, I have the Mandalorian from the Book of Boba Fett. After like 200 previous Black Series Mandos, Hasbro finally made a great Din Djarin figure. It's a completely retooled body, and so now the proportions look much better, even though, from what I saw, this new Mando is a bit shorter than the previous ones. The helmet finally has the right shape, the overall details look much sharper, and they finally gave us a soft goods cape that can move out of the way when you want to attach the jetpack to Mando's back. He comes with some nice accessories that include the Darksaber and Vibro knife. The articulation is great, and this turned out to be a much needed update to the previous version that was not so good in comparison to what few other companies made. And speaking of that, I don't have this figure because I've decided to go with the new Mafex release that, to me, looks like the ultimate 6-inch Mando figure. I compared all these Mandos in my other video, so if you want, you can check it out. But that being said, for the Black Series, yeah, this is by far the best Mando figure that Hasbro ever made. Maybe it could have been even higher on the list, but I can't get over the fact that we had to get like 100 not so good previous Mando figures in order to finally get a great one. Alright, we are now moving into my top 3 Black Series figures of 2023. At number 3, I have Starkiller. This is such a great looking figure of a character that a lot of us wanted in this line for a long time. The Force Unleashed is an iconic Star Wars game, and Hasbro finally gave us a Starkiller figure. In fact, they gave us 2 versions, a deluxe 3-pack with 2 stormtroopers and a ton of great accessories that give you a lot of displaying options, and after that they released a standard single release that comes only with a lightsaber. I have that single release because the 3-pack was just too expensive here in Europe, but nevertheless, I love how this figure turned out. The likeness to the character is on point, the body sculpt is great, and the articulation is really good. I love the fact that they sculpted his hands in two different gestures, so that makes him even more dynamic when you put him in any kind of action pose. So yeah, a great looking figure from a game that I love, and for me it deserves the number 3 spot on my list. At number 2, I have Padawan Ahsoka Tano from the Clone Wars. Now, if I didn't try to be reasonable and objective, this figure would probably be my best Black Series figure of the year, simply because I love the character and especially this Clone Wars look. I jumped off my seat when Hasbro pipelined this figure. It's a completely new sculpt with pinless joints, but still with a great articulation. The head sculpt and paint applications are just beautiful. Same as for Starkiller, they gave her two different gestures for her hands that make her look even better when she is in a fighting pose. She comes with her two green lightsabers that look really good, and the hilts can be pegged on her belt. They finally sculpted her feet in a way that makes her stable and she doesn't fall easily as previous two animated versions. Overall, for me, this is now the best animated Ahsoka figure in the line, and I love it. I had so much fun posing her for my posing video. Such a great figure, and as I said, she could have easily been my number 1 of the year. But for my number 1, as I said, I tried to be as objective as I can, and that is why my number 1 spot for the best Black Series figure of the year goes to Darth Malgus. This is a huge, menacing figure of a character from a game that I never played, and when Hasbro revealed it, I knew immediately that I want to have it in my collection. I know that it's weird to have Malek at number 8 and Malgus at number 1, and I have no connections to any of these characters, but in this case, it's something about the design of this guy. He is not in all red jumpsuit, but in dark tones that just screams big Vader-looking Sith bad guy. The overall sculpt of this figure is amazing. If I could say one negative thing about it, it's that the body could use a bit of wash just to bring out those sculpted details even more. But even without it, this figure has such a presence on the shelf. I love the head sculpt and photoreal that they did here. I also love that you can remove his breathing apparatus and reveal his scarred face. And then they also decided to give us soft goods hood and cape. In my opinion, this is one of the best soft goods that Hasbro ever made in this line. They found a great design choice to connect the hood to the body so that it looks great when the hood is up over his head, but it also looks good when you pull it down. If on top of all this, the cape was also wired, that would make this figure even better, but unfortunately it's not. Hasbro doesn't do that. I did use my easy wiring technique in my posing video for this guy. It's easy to do and no gluing or stitching is required. I have a whole video about it, so you can check it out. All in all, this is an amazing looking Black Series figure. It has the looks, it has the presence on the shelf, and just overall design of the character looks great. So that is why Malgus, for me, is the best Black Series figure of 2023. But now, I would love to hear you guys. What do you think about my list? Do you agree with me or not? How would you rank these figures, and what's your Black Series figure of the year? Let me know all of that down in the comments. Check out all the reviews and posing videos for these figures, well, at least the ones that I have in my collection. Most of them are already on the channel. I really hope that we'll have another great Black Series year like this one. Special thank you goes out to my supporters on Patreon, and to the rest of you guys, of course. Thank you so much for watching and supporting the channel in that way. I wish you all happy holidays and a happy new year. Thank you all for being here with me, and I'll see ya in the next video.